Hello YouTubers, today's video is on my power steering unit. I'm going to rebuild the pump on it. I've been working on the 442 behind me, replacing the camshaft, and when I took it apart on the front, I noticed that I had a lot of grimy buildup on the front of the block, and it was because the power steering pump had been spraying or flicking or whatever kind of oil and dirt back on the engine. So I want to take care of that problem. As far as I know, this pump's never been apart, but either way we're going to rebuild it. So that's what today's video is on. As far as I know, this is a Saginaw power steering pump, pretty common on a lot of General Motors products. So let's flip the camera around to it and then we'll take a look at the process. So here is the power steering pump. Still, I'll basically show you what I did to take this apart to this stage right now. Basically just took the pump off. The pump came off with its brackets, and then there was a process of removing the brackets and then removing the pulley. This pulley, since this is a 71, does not use a pressed-on fitting. It's basically taken off the nut, so I used an impact wrench to pull off the nut. It just makes it a little easier to come off. Otherwise, if you do it with a socket and whatever, you'll have to hold the power steering pulley while you knock loose the bolt. So once you've got that done, then it's just a matter of popping off this pulley. Easier said than done. I thought I'd just, oh, there we go. Pulley comes off, set it aside. These brackets back here, I don't remember right off the top of my head which way they went though, but there was a couple of brackets sitting back here that mount to the engine. I cleaned them up ahead of time. What I'm going to do is repaint everything, including the pump here, because in the process of cleaning this, which was a lot of brake clean and scrubbing it with a wire brush, it took off some of the old paint. So, but anyways, after you've got the bolts loose on both sides here, you're ready to get this thing going. So let me get these brackets out of the way. Now the first thing I did was, I haven't opened a pump, but I did knock these bolts loose. So I'm going to take out these bolts. So basically what you're looking at is the pump part and the housing that houses the pump. So the housing houses the oil too. So I've already taken the oil and drained it out of here. That doesn't mean that there's no oil in here. It just means there shouldn't be as much. This is where these brackets back here are just, or these bolts back here were just nothing used but to hold this together. And this is where the high pressure power steering pump fluid comes out of. So there's the hose that goes here, that goes to your steering, and then this is the return line for the stuff coming back. So you take out the following bolts, including this one, and this one will be in multiple parts because there is a spring-loaded kind of valve back here. So here's one of the valves that you're going to have to deal with. And then there's a piston and a spring back here, so let's take them out. All right. So there is the piston. And the spring. Here, and another bolt that holds this in here. Let me get a wrench. Well, you know what? I'm going to leave this in a little bit because this is going to be the basis for me separating the case from the pump. I'm going to need a little bit of ability to hit this and try to knock these two apart. So let's see if I can get my hammer. I don't want to be bopping these things real hard, but just enough to force the pump out of the housing. So now these aren't really doing anything. They're just okay. So it's working because now I'm getting a lot of oil out of this thing. Let's just keep tapping it. Okay, those are getting tight, so that pump is coming out now. I'm going to unthread this one a little further. Okay, I see it coming out of the housing on this side. All right. Okay. Now, may have to address these threads a little bit. No, I guess it goes in there fine. All right, give this a little more room to come out. Hopefully it'll start coming out over here. Pretty sure these bolts got nothing to do with it. All right, there it seems to be coming out now. All right. Now, not quite enough. I can see the lip of this. Try a little more tapping. Okay. Okay, there's the gasket. All right, starting to fill. Okay, there we go. All right, so there is separation of the case. Nothing really too interesting in there. It's a little dirty. You can see a little bit of kind of that black grime. All right, let's take a look at the pump. Okay. All right, we got a couple of washers that fell out. Got one there that came out. Maybe the other one's sitting in here. Yep. So there's the other washer that fell out. And I can just tell I did just a little bit of damage to the housing. Maybe right down here, maybe you can see that. Right inside here. Looks like I got out around a little bit, but I can just tap that back down. So I'm not too worried about that. And then we can just check everything went together right, or recheck all these threads, make sure nothing happened to them during that process. So the next step will be to remove this cover here. Now to do that, there is a hole right here that's going to allow me to sink a punch in that should allow me to push out the snap ring that's holding this on there, and it looks like the snap ring's in the right spot, so I think I'm going to be good there. Let me get the punch. I'm going to make a little room here, and we're going to sink the punch through that hole. It should catch this snap ring. Yep, there's the snap ring. Okay, now I went underneath the snap ring. Try this again. Try to hold it. Not let that snap ring get around it. Okay. It's going to be easier said than done. Snap ring is not sitting in the right spot. So whoever put this in there put the snap ring ends at the opposite end of where that punch hole is. So I'm going to have to move them around. Try to at least. Move that groove so that it's over by this hole. It's moving around, but take a little bit of time. I don't know if that tells me the factory did this or not. Because you wouldn't think that they would do that, but who knows. Alright, so now if you look down here, the hole's right here, and we got about probably around 1/2 inch or so of the snap ring. So if I hit it now, okay, hit it now, I can get it out, and then I'll get a screwdriver on it. And now I'll let this ring out. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to grab it. Maybe. Go around it with the... Okay, there it goes. All right. Gonna have a cover piston pop. There it goes. Okay. All right. There's the cover. There is the spring. Okay. All right. Now, there is 2 pins in here. Let me bring my light down a little bit. Maybe that'll make it a little easier. There's 2 pins here. I'm going to pull them out. They go in a little groove right here, or they go into holes down the bottom. So there's one. There's the second one. Second pin. Then there's a cover in here. See if I can get this out. Okay. I might grab a pick. Okay. All right, so we got a steel plate. And we have the locations underneath the plate where the pins went through. So I think the smaller holes, if you can see in there, there's two holes, one bigger one, one smaller one. The pins go in the smaller holes. And then we have this piece here. See if a pick can pull it out. That is the pump housing. Okay, almost had it. Okay. Now I'm just checking to see if this housing has any reference on it to let me know which direction it goes, or am I going to have to worry about this? Okay, I don't see any arrows letting me know which way was up, which way was down. Okay, the only markings that there are is a groove right here, a cutout that is only on a couple of them here, here and here, and those don't exist on the bottom. So this and this are going to give me the indication this is top. So this goes on there. Okay, and then it's just a matter of all the rotor here with the vanes in it. So we'll see if we can kind of get that out of there. Okay. All right. Might have to give it a little tap to get it to come out here. I did that and I felt the vanes coming out. So I did lose two vanes. And we're going to see how them go back in there. Oops. Okay, let's see if we can just... There it goes. Pretty tight fit. It's not really too interested in coming out. Okay. All right, so more... All right, well, I was looking for my seal puller and I couldn't find it. So I found a tool to remove indoor clips, you know, inside the door, and that seems to be working fine. So I'm gonna try to get it the last way here. There it goes. Okay. So there is the seal with a little bit of my blood in there. Yeah. So that was very difficult to get out. Took a few different tools to try. So anyways, okay, I think I have a little problem, but no, I guess not. I was looking, I see something in there that looked like maybe a piece of metal got out, but let me stick my finger in there and see if it feels rough. No, it doesn't feel rough, so I'm going to say it was manufactured that way. Well, turn the light on, help you see. Yeah, some kind of swirl. Uh-oh. There is a swirl in there. And, that, boy, how am I going to show you that? I don't know if that's good. It's a little difficult to see. I don't know if that was a problem. It looks like something had happened to this maybe at some other time. Bring the camera in. If you look down here, you can see what looks to be a little chunk of it missing. But it looks like a squared off hole. Off of that squared off hole, you can feel it a little bit. You see a kind of like a swirl going around it. And I can feel it all the way around as it goes down. That would suck. because that'll have to be pressed in and pressed out if that's not supposed to be like that. I mean, you can definitely feel it. How could that be perfectly made like that? Maybe you can see it down here too. There's a swirl. Oh, and it goes all the way down to a similar notch, if you can see it. See if I can point it out better. There is another notch right here, exactly the same as on the top, and that swirl connects those two. Wow. So I don't know, maybe you can detect that swirl right there. Yeah, well, I guess that's supposed to be there, because I don't think that's coincidental that could go like that. So some parts of that seal. So okay. The other things that need to be removed are right here. Let me put you back up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just remove these other seals that need to come out and then clean this unit up. Okay, there's one of them. There's another one that went on the floor. And there's the third one. So that should, all these parts, just retrieve the one off the floor, should be in the kit. I haven't really looked in the kit. I ordered a kit for this, and it's over here. So this is an Edelman power steering repair kit. So let's see what's in it. In case you're wondering, I guess it's part 7918. So kit number 7918. And I pulled out the kit. Here it is. A number of washers, a new seal. So I guess I will have everything that I need in here. Now the only thing left to do, whoops, I forgot, there's another 2 or 3 seals here that do need to come out. All right, so you got a snap ring ridge right here where there's a hole where my punch went through, and then underneath that is an O-ring. Try to get it out of there. It's not really interested in coming out. God knows how long it's been in there. Okay, buddy, there you go. Oof. Boy, this O-ring is brittle. Yeah, it doesn't feel very rubbery anymore. It's kind of like a stiffer plastic. And then the one underneath of it, that looked like they've been squared off after being encased in there in so long. Not really roundish on the outside, more flat. There it goes. Okay, another one that is kind of hard. All right, and there's one last O-ring to get, which is around the entire case. So I get that without stabbing myself. Yikes. There we go. Yeah, that edge is flat. I don't know if you can tell, but yeah, she feels a little worn out. Well, now I got a little raised section. I don't know how well that's going to come out for you, but there's a little, this got a little boogered up with trying to hammer it off. So I'm going to try to flatten it back down the way it should be with this flat punch. So that looks pretty good. Might be just a little pushed a little too far, so I'm going to use the opposite end. There you go. That feels good from that side, and it feels good from that side. So I'm going to say that's a win now. I don't see any issues with this hole. I did straighten out some threads on both the nut and the tapped hole here, and that all worked out well. The only problem is on the other side here, this hole here, where that is also, I believe, corresponds to this hole here that got a little screwed up. I must have gotten a little too aggressive or whatever, trying to get that side to pop out. And because this screw here doesn't have as long of a thread on it as the other side did, I actually wrecked the thread here. It actually pulled out, and I don't see it right now on the table anymore, but believe me, a piece of the thread pulled out of here. And so now I'm going to have to tap that and then rethread it. So that's what I'm going to do. It's an additional step, one that I wish didn't happen, but these are the kinds of things that happen whenever you do these types of tasks. So you got to be prepared. So I've got to get set up for that. And I found the missing thread. So there's the thread that got pulled out. All right, well, I bought the helicoil for this repair. This is a 3/8 thread size by 16 thread count. So this is the kit that comes with it. It gives you the die, the tap and die that you need to size the hole so that you can put the helicoil in there, and it's got the tool to thread the helicoil in there. But what it does not come with is the drill bit, and you have to drill this out according to this to 25/64. So I just happen to have the drill bit for 25/64 here, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put just a little bit of oil on here to help this go down in there a little better. I got it sitting in my vise, but my vise isn't super level here. But I'm going to do my best to get this in there. So let's see how it goes. I have to go down slower. Man.
Wow.
So we'll blow out the thread residue. All right, I don't know how well that'll come out, but it's gone, the thread's gone. So now it's just a matter of putting in rethreading this and then putting in the new coil. Okay, let's tap it. Sean, can you put your foot on here again?
Jeez.
Now I'm down. No.
Oh, okay.
Now it's down to bottom. Looks like it's straight. Let's take it out.
What does this do for the car? What is this?
All right. Now, I don't know how well that'll come out, but there's nice new threads in there. Now we're going to put in the tap, or the new coil. Thread it on there so it bottoms out in the tool. And let's put this in. Turn this in there. Okay, and I want that down so that the thread is below the hole there, which it looks like it definitely is. So let me try to get this out of here. Okay, so I can't feel the thread anymore. It's lined up with that hole and it's down in there. All right, now I'll just tap out the tang. I felt it break off. Dump it out. All right. The tang is broken off. All right. Put you back in place. And here's the screw that goes into the new thread. And so now you tighten her down, and that's the way it looks perfect now. So let's take it back out. And there you go. There's the extra step of having to tap this thing. But she's done now, so we can move on to finishing the rebuild. All right, now I've cleaned the unit, I've painted the unit, and I'm ready to put it back together. I also was over there at the air tank there and blew out all the different passages here, so everything should be clean and ready to go. So now it's just a matter of putting this back together. So the first thing that I'm going to do is put the seal back in here. So to start that process, I'm going to help this seal go in a little bit. I'm just going to lube this up a little bit to give it a little bit of help going in. Alright, some on the seal here. Get it about going in pretty straight, taking a hammer or a socket that's just about the same size, a little bit smaller, just going to knock it in. Okay, one side's up a little higher. All right. Now that's in there, it's slightly below the lip, so that shouldn't make any difference. The next thing that we're going to put in is put in the shaft here with the pump, and let me just make sure I got enough grease on here. I don't want anything happening when this is going together. Now you could use oil. I'm just using grease because I'm not ready to fill this up with oil. So it's got to go in from the other way. Okay, and that pushed down real nice. All right, back onto my table here. Now the next thing that's going in are these these cylinders here, they're pegs, whatever you want to call them. They're going to line up with the holes inside there. So that dropped all the way down straight through. You really can't screw it up when you're putting it together this way. It'll only go together one way. So that one will drop down through there. Now the next thing that I would do is I'm going to put on these individual blades. I mean, well, I guess either way it doesn't really matter. If I put this in first, the blades won't be able to fall out, so that might be a better approach. All right, so the pegs are going to go through the smaller holes. Let's see if I can get that. Okay. And this went in with these little recesses here at the top. So I'm hoping that comes out okay, but you see there's these little recesses here. Those were located on the top, so that's the way that they're going back in. Then I can take these blades. Remember, each one of these blades has a rounded end and a squared off end. That's squared off, that's rounded. The rounded edges went out to the exterior, to the outside. So we'll just drop them in back that way again. So the square part is towards the center. All right. And there's going to be 10 of these, I believe, on this pump. So let's put them in there. All right, now that one felt a little weird going in. Get a needle nose. That one is definitely tight in there. So we're going to switch its position. Well, it seems to be a little tight in that one too. I don't see anything wrong with it. We'll just find a spot it likes better. All right, I like that one fine. Square end in. Just trying to knock off anything that I see. I don't know if there was a tiny bit of something there. Okay, square side in. All right, last one, square side in. All right, they all fit in there nice now. Some of these veins, or at least one of the veins, only liked it in a certain spot, so you might have to worry about that a little bit. All right, after the veins are in, we have to put in the first of 2 O-rings here. So in this particular kit, there is a mention of, well, it doesn't affect these particular O-rings, it does affect the others, that depending on if you have an older style, a newer older style pump here, that you would use different O-rings over here, which I'll cover in a second here and show you. But for right now, I'm just going to take a little bit of grease, put it on this O-ring, just so that when I go to put the other pieces of the pump in there, I'm it'll slide over here. Okay, so this is going to go in the first lowest groove in that tank, in the pump here. So that's going to be the high pressure side of this pump. All right. Okay. Just take your time. Fish it around this groove. Okay. I know it might be a little tough to see. Let's start this again. All right, down there. Now, let's just take a look here. It is in the first groove. There's 2 more grooves left. The next higher one up will be for the like the lower pressure side of the pump, and then the C-clip. So that's the grooves that are left. That looks good. Let's drop the top part of the pump on here. Now you really can't screw this up. The top part of this pump, you can see the wear marks. It's going to go back down and face the spinning rotor down there. So let's just drop it into place. It drops into place there. Now the next thing we want to do is to put in a little higher O-ring here. Just give this a little grease. All right. Okay. When you're putting this in, it almost feels like the O-ring is too big, but this groove that it fits into is pretty deep. So initially might feel like it's not going in there, but just remember it goes deep inside there. So okay, so there is the second O-ring in there, and then the cover's going on, and then in the very top cutout there will sit the clip. So let's get that in here. So next goes the spring, fits in there in its spot. Then the top. Okay, while it doesn't take a lot of pressure to push that down, it might be helpful to, it would be helpful to have something holding that in place. Let's see what we can put on there. I got a C-clip here. Let's see if we can use that. Make sure that C-clip edge fits all the way down inside there. Okay, I see the entire, for the most part, the entire lip. Okay, feels like about as far as it should go. Here, over here is the hole. So I'm going to try to put this in there where the edge is not too far from the hole. Okay, so we'll stick this down in here. All right. Okay, there it went. Okay, I believe that went all the way around. Yep. Okay, perfect. Take the pressure off. All right. Okay. This pump should be sitting good. Just gonna test it, make sure that pop it just to make sure that it's catching on the lip all the way around. All right. Okay. All right. I heard it. I pressed it down a few times and felt it come back up, so I feel like it's seated okay. All right. Now, there is some lettering and marking on here, and what the instructions say is if you have a big X on here, you have to use the other set of washers that's in here. So if you basically have the X on there, you have a newer style pump, and the newer style pump uses the where'd my kit go? The kit's wider style O-rings. Mine doesn't. It just uses the traditional style kind of rounded O-rings, not the really thicker version that they have. So let's put those in place. So we'll just take some of this grease just to help them stay in place as we're putting this pump back together. All right. Grease on here. Now you could use the oil, whatever oil you're going to use in this for this too, but I won't be adding it for the while, so I'm just going to use this. Now it's time to add the spring. The next part would be this plunger. It's going to fit inside the spring. All right, feels like it's moving around all right. And then the end of the part here needs another washer, so it comes in the kit. I'll just put a little bit of grease on it, help me get it around these pieces. Now just watch the grooves. There's two different grooves here, and it, as I recall, it goes in that second groove. So we're going to have to skip one groove and go for the second one. Okay. All right. Try to roll over this one. Probably easier said than done. Just use my tool here to help me roll this over there. And there she goes. She went in the second groove there. All right, cool. Now, really that has to go on after the cover goes on. So we got the thing here. We got one more O-ring, this one. All right, so there's the third O-ring. Okay. All right, good. They're just barely above the surface. The O-rings just sticking up barely above the surface. Okay. Now, for the pump cover, there she is. All right. This time when I put it together, I'm going to put it a little bit differently. I'm not going to use the screws that came with the pump because they're a little too short, which is what got me into the situation of getting this pump apart. So I have a couple of longer bolts that I'm going to use to help me line this up as I put it together, because I've got to squeeze, whoops, That reminds me, I got to squeeze it over this last seal. And so the biggest O-ring of the bunch has got to go in the housing still. So, and let me get this lubed up. Alrighty. Okay. Now, just going to give it some extra grease here because that cover's got to slide over this, and I really don't want to have to get very physical with it. So I'm just going to make sure that she's nice and slippery, and I'm going to do that on the inside of this cover too. Just going to put a little bit of grease here to help this thing slide on. So I'm just doing it around this rounded edge here where it's got to get pressed over. Just giving it a little bit of help here. And that hopefully will make this easier to go together. Alright, so the plan is to loosely put this over the top, insert some bolts into these holes here so that the O-rings don't move while I'm trying to press this together. So we're going to stick it over the top, lining up this big hole like so. Take some longer 3/8 bolts. This will keep the O-rings from moving. These are actually some starter bolts off my starter that's out. So let me just drop this in here. Remember, that's under spring pressure, so I don't have to push it down as I start it, hopefully. Alright, so that's in place. Now, what I'd like to do is press this over top of the case. Well, I felt something. Let's try over here. Okay, so I can see, I don't know how well it's coming out on camera here, that it's pressed in pretty good around the majority of the case. So on this side of the case I'm pressed in pretty good, on this side of the case I'm not. So we're going to work on that side of the case. That is not too bad. Yeah, I'll try to get the light here. It's pretty much in. I might just take a hammer, just lightly tap it. See if I can get it to go any further. Okay, doesn't look too bad. All right. It feels and it looks like it's bottomed out. All right. So now, where's my cover? Cover back down. Make sure that's spinning okay. It is. Now I'm going to remove these. Let's see. I gotta put this light on. Yeah, I see my O-ring there. See my O-ring there. See my O-ring there. Nothing looks like it moved. So, and I can tell by how far this is up in the air that there's a pretty big gap there that it's down. And these ones here, if you can tell, look like they're flush against the case. So now we're going to put the regular screws in. I think, well, if I need to switch them, I will. I think that was the small one. I think this one was the larger one. Okay. I think my smaller one was this one. And she went up here. Okay. So, let's just tighten them up. All right, so I found a pulley cover. It actually has a front written right on it, so you can't really screw it up. There's the Woodruff key line-up mark. So then it's just a matter of pressing this on and we're done. All right, let me get that on. Okay, as you might have seen, I knocked it down with the socket over there. Now I just have to put an air hammer on it, just tighten it down a little bit more. But that is the basics of how to put this together. The last things are putting the brackets on here. So I've got to go find the brackets. That's all the old parts. Just put the brackets on and we're done. So it's not that hard to do. So it's definitely a DIY project. So don't feel intimidated by it. It's pretty simple process. So so until next time, guys, remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.